Hello, everybody, and welcome back to my continuation of my book reading of The Body. Chapter 15, A Dream of Deep Water. I woke up in the middle of the night, and I didn't know where I was, and I wondered why it was so cold in my bedroom, and who had left the windows open. Then I realized that this wasn't my room, this was somewhere else. And someone had his arms wrapped around me, while someone else was kneeling beside me, had turned, as if listening to something. "What's happening?" I asked in puzzlement. The thing holding me made a noise. It sounded like Vern. That made me wake up properly. I remember where I was. But what was everybody doing awake in the middle of the night? I had been asleep for some hours. "Don't let it get me," Vern said. "I promise I'll be good." I sat up, frightened. "Chris?" "Shut up, Vern," Chris said. He was the one next to me, listening. "It's nothing." "Oh yes it is," Teddy said heavily. "It's something." "What is?" I asked. As if to answer my question, a long and hollow scream rose from the forest. It was the sort of scream you might expect from a woman who was dying in extreme pain and extreme fear. "Oh Jesus," Vern whispered, his voice high and filled with tears. He tightened his hold on me, making it hard for me to breathe and adding to my own terror. I threw him loose, but he came straight back like a young dog which can't think of anything else or anywhere else to go. "It's Brower," Teddy whispered. "His ghost is out walking in the forest." "Oh God," Vern shouted. "I promise I won't take any more sexy magazines from the shops. I promise to eat my vegetables. I won't swear. I won't..." "Shut up, Vern," Chris said, but Vern's voice only dropped back to a whisper. Chris sounded strong, but underneath I could hear fear. I wonder if the hair was standing up on his neck as it was on mine. "It's a bird, isn't it?" I asked Chris. "No, at least I don't think it is. I think it's a wildcat. My dad says they scream like hell at certain times of the year. It sounds like a woman, doesn't it?" "Yes," I said. "But no woman would scream that loud," Chris said, and then adding, helplessly, "Could she, Gordy?" "It's his ghost," Teddy whispered again. "I'm going to go and look for it." I don't think he was curious, but we took no chances. When he started to get up, Chris and I pulled him back down. "Let me go, you asses," Teddy shouted. "If I say I want to go and look for it, then I'm going to go and look for it. I want to see it. I want to see the ghost. The wild cry rose into the night again, cutting the air like a knife and freezing us with our hands on Teddy. The scream climbed impossibly high, hung there for a moment, and then slid down to the lowest imaginable sound. This was followed by a burst of what sounded like mad laughter, and then there was silence again. "Jesus Christ," Teddy whispered, and he talked no more of going into the forest to see what was making that screaming noise. All four of us stayed close together, and I thought of running. I doubt I was the only one. If we had been camping in Vern's field where our parents thought we were, we probably would have run. But Castle Rock was too far, and the thought of trying to run across that bridge in the dark made my blood freeze. Running deeper into Harlow and closer to the body of Ray Brower was equally unthinkable. We had nowhere to go if there was a ghost out there, and if it wanted us, it would probably get us. Chris suggested that we keep guard, and everyone was agreeable to that. We spun coins to see who would go first. It was Vern, and I was last. Vern sat by the campfire while the rest of us lay down again, close to each other like sheep. I was sure that sleep would be impossible, but I did sleep. A light, uneasy sleep that was as near to being awake as it was to being asleep. My half-sleeping dreams were filled with wild cries. which were possibly real or possibly imagined. In my dream, I saw, or I thought I saw, something white and shapeless float through the trees. At last, I slipped into something I knew was a dream. Chris and I were swimming at White Beach, a lake in Brunswick. It was where Teddy had seen the boy hit his head and almost drown. In my dream, we were out in the deep water, swimming lazily along with a hot July sun up in the sky. From behind us came cries and shouts of laughter. On the sandy beach, people lay face down on blankets, and little children played with plastic buckets at the edge of the water or sat happily, pouring sand into their hair. Teenagers formed grinning groups, and the boys watched the girls walk endlessly up and down in twos and threes, never alone, the secret places of their bodies wrapped in swimsuits. Mrs. Coates, our English teacher from school, floated past us on a rubber boat. She was lying on her back, dressed in her usual September to go June uniform of a gray suit. "Be careful, boys," she said. "If you're not good, I'll hit you so hard that you'll go blind. Now, Mr. Chambers, we'll hear the poem, Mending Wall, please." I tried to give the money back, Chris said. Mrs. Simmons said okay, but she took it. Do you hear me? She took it. Now what are you going to do about it? Are you going to hit her until she goes blind? Mending wall, Mr. Chambers, if you please. Chris threw me a desperate look, as if to say, didn't I tell you it would be like this? And then began. Something there is that doesn't love a wall. That's Sandy. And then his head went under, his mouth filling with water in the middle of repeating the poem. He broke through the surface, crying, "Help me, Gordy, help me." Then he was dragged under again. Looking into the clear water, I could see two bare swollen bodies holding his ankles. One was Vern and the other was Teddy, and their open eyes were empty and white. Chris's head broke out of the water again. He reached one hand towards me, and out of his mouth came a screaming, womanish cry that rose and rose into the hot, sunny summer air. I looked wildly towards the beach, but nobody had heard. Chris' scream was cut off as the bodies pulled him under the water again. As they dragged him down to black water, I could see his eyes turned up to me and his hands reaching out helplessly. But instead of diving down and trying to save him, I swam madly for the shore, or at least to a place where the water would not be over my head. But before I could get there, before I could even get close, I felt a soft, rotten hand wrap itself firmly around my leg and begin to pull. A scream started to rise from my chest, but before it came out, the dream passed into reality. There was Teddy with his hand on my leg. He was shaking me awake. And now it was my turn to keep guard. And that was the end of chapter 15, A Dream of Deep Water. Thank you so much for listening. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.